Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse, aka BGFH, and I am back for another channel update video. No games, no reviews, no hardware this time. Just another kind of a channel update for some things I'm currently working on, want to be working on. A couple of other couple of other ideas I'm kicking around, and maybe getting your guys' thoughts on a couple of things as well. So. Yeah, with that, before I go in any further talking about Illegally Cited the channel or anything, I do just really quickly want to at least acknowledge the latest in what seems to be an all too frequent occurrence in America these days. Of course, I'm speaking about the school shooting in mid-February here in Florida. I'm not going to get political. I'm not going to go on a whole rant. Believe me, I could. I have thoughts. I've talked about it with friends. But all I really have to say is, how can you not be at least for some type of gun control? Some type of, there's no reason that you should be, there's no reason that anyone needs a clip that holds 20, 30, 40, 50 rounds. There's no reason. At what point is it going to be enough to where our government steps up and tries to do something? It's not going to be perfect. Of course it isn't. But you can't just sit here and say empty prayers. Like, you can't just sit here and, our condolences and our prayers go out to the people. Fucking do something. Make a decision. At least try to work on something. We can, modify it. We can work on it or whatever. But it's tragic. It's terrible. And it's embarrassing that we have to say that we've had, a month and a half in the year 2018, and we've already had I've heard a couple of different numbers, anywhere between 12 and 18 mass shootings this year. That's insane. And it's just completely unacceptable, completely ridiculous. But we have to do it. I was talking about it with a friend of mine when the Vegas thing happened last year. The Vegas shooting happened. And I'm like, when is it going to, I figured, we have to, we figured that would be the point. When is the tipping point going to be where, okay, we're actually going to get off our butts and actually attempt to do something instead of just yelling at each other, each party yelling at each other and accomplishing nothing. So, Mr. Trump and Congress, get off your ass and actually do some good for a change. And that's all I'm going to say. So, that negativity and, that ranting aside, on to the main channel update. As far as things have gone for me so far in 2018, they're going pretty good. Last year around this time, I was having a real bad time. I talked a little bit about that on my my year wrap-up video. You want to go check that out if you want to find out what happened more there. But so far this year has been pretty good. It's been super busy at work, trying a bunch of new things. Like I said, it's just been really busy. But the channel is actually, my channel, Illegally Cited here, and Twitter at BGFH79, by the way. It's all going, really well. I made the goal of trying to hit 900 subscribers for the YouTube channel. And we made it, just barely, but hey, we made it, and we actually got a few over by the end of 2017. And we're already up to 955, so 1,000 should be reachable, you guys. And we might even, I'm, knock on wood, but I'm hoping that maybe we can, get that, even before a half of the year, before June, But yeah, so like I said, thanks for the support, the views, the subscribes, the likes. Never thought it would have actually taken off, to be honest with you. But I've been getting good feedback on Twitter. I've been getting feedback on the channel comments, some likes, consistently a fair few more views. So yeah, it's been pretty cool. The channel is slowly but surely growing. So yeah, thanks for that. Couple of things recently that have come up. I am actually looking at. I recently did a video for a word finder. It's actually Word Finder Game. I had mentioned in that video not terribly long ago that up until that point, everything that I have gotten, everything that I have covered on the channel, be it a game, an app, a piece of software, a device, a piece of hardware, I've purchased on my own. I'm not going out looking for free, free games, free content, free devices, whatever. But a developer reached out to me for that one, and just seeing if I was interested in looking at it. And I did do some honest review coverage and feedback for that video. And funny enough, around the same time, interesting thing I have coming up here next week. I got to do some actual prep work this weekend, believe it or not, which is actually kind of fun. I've been communicating with a couple of people at Microsoft, and I had made several comments on Twitter over the past couple of year or two. Like, oh man, you got to bring back Burnout 3. Burnout 3, Burnout Revenge, the ones that are, the linear ones, not the open world ones like Paradise, but I'm like, I want that so bad, or like another arcade racing game like that. And the cool thing is, I posted about this on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, and this is where you guys come in. I put out a request on Twitter saying that if any of you guys are blind or low vision, and you have some ideas or feedback on what you would like to see in a mainstream racing game, the good example that they have that Microsoft mentioned was the Forza series, the main Forza series, or Forza Motorsport, or the Forza Horizon games. But racing games in general, what do you find difficult as a low vision user? What would you like to see improved? What options could be there that aren't? Just any kind of general feedback. So I'm actually going to be having a Skype call middle of next week, kind of a little conference call with, I'm not even sure who, but some folks at Microsoft, and probably, I don't know if it's Microsoft and Turn 10, the people who make development team who makes the Forza games. But they want some feedback on from blind and low vision users, and they invited me to be on this panel and to be really prepared. Believe it or not, I will cover what happened as much as I can after I've done the little conference call, and I'll kind of tie that into when I actually do my spotlight video, an Xbox One game spotlight video for Forza Motorsport 7. I'll tie that into the game accessibility talk that we're going to have. So look forward to that probably within the next couple of weeks. But in the meantime, like I said, I'm looking for, leave in the comments below, or hit me up on Twitter with any kind of thoughts or suggestions, things that you might like to see to help make a mainstream racing title more accessible to blind and low vision gamers. Because what I'm going to do this weekend is I'm going to play a little bit more of Forza Horizon 3, which I have not. I purchased a long time ago, but I just never really dug much into it for whatever reason. And then, another little disclosure, I'll mention it in the upcoming video. But to further help with, the newest game in the series, Microsoft did provide me with a code. So I do have Forza Motorsport 7 now as well. And I'm going to play through, as a few more races, go through, different types of races and things like that. And really, even take a few notes, like come up with some ideas and really think about, if we're given the opportunity to give some serious feedback, I would like to do it professionally, do it well, and again, get any feedback that you guys might have. So I'm going to be probably chatting with them on Wednesday evening. So, the sooner you guys post any comments, I've gotten a one or two pieces of feedback through my Twitter post earlier. So I will, keep those in mind and have those on hand as well. So that's one thing that I'm working on is really kind of cool, having a couple of developers, and I've had several different developers, like ask for feedback, or, I've emailed, and this is the thing, like if there's a game you really want to play, be it iOS or PC, it never hurts to contact the developer, because sometimes, especially if it's a mainstream game, they may not know that blind or low vision people are interested in playing. And I've made a few connections that way. And a couple iOS, a couple PC games, even a couple of Kickstarter things. A Kickstarter game sounded really interesting, and I'm like, well, I sent them a message on, have you guys considered accessibility in any way? And I kind of explained a little bit, and they're like, no, but now that you make an interesting point, since we're kind of in the beginning of the process anyway, we'll kind of, we'll make some, we'll consider it here. We'll figure out what we can do. So, reach out to developers, because, like I said, I've been having really a lot of fun. I would say over the last year or so, having the chance to just, I'm not getting paid for it or anything like that. And, but I just enjoy, working with developers and doing some testing, giving some feedback, being part of the process, because it's really, really cool to see more and more game accessibility getting attention, even in mainstream media. Which brings me to my next topic. There's actually been, another couple of things I want to get going on the channel, and I haven't figured out a playlist name for it, but I'm thinking of creating a new playlist on the channel, because we have the general low vision spotlights, and these are for, games that, I can play as a low vision user. They're mainstream games typically, but, they're just designed however they're designed. There's nothing really specifically in them that has any tie to accessibility necessarily. But we're actually seeing several games, in various ways that actually are mainstream games that are adding accessibility features into them, and it's been getting a lot of positive reaction on Twitter. You may have heard of a game called Celeste. It is a kind of, and the funny thing is that's actually like a fairly, it's supposed to be a really difficult kind of action platformer a la Super Meat Boy, which was, I played that on the original Xbox 360 and Steam, and never got into it because it was really cool, but it was hard and I sucked at it. But Celeste is actually having, not just like easy, medium, or easy, normal, hard, but like really having this assist mode where you can really specifically customize what types, how you want to handle the difficulty. So you can go anywhere from like pure invincibility, so spikes don't hurt you, to like slowing the time down, not just, fast or slow, but like I guess you can set like the percentage, like, okay, it's going pretty fast, let's knock it down to 80% or 60%. So there's a lot of variation in how do you want to still make the game challenging for yourself, but actually keep it accessible. I'm very intrigued to check that out. I've purchased it for Steam so that we can cover it on the channel. There's another game that I recently learned about that I've never heard of it before. It's supposed to be some kind of a 2D shooter, like an overhead or a space shooter or something. I think it's called Rcoil, R-C-O-I-L. And that they had mentioned there, both for like motor disabilities, being able to just use like one button pretty much. Was it like one or two buttons? But they also mentioned in the tweet that there are a variety of visual settings that you can change to make it easier for low vision. So I'm definitely want to check that out. There's a game that is coming out pretty soon. Not sure exactly when, but it's called Way of the Passive Fist. Not pacifist, but passive fist. It's kind of a play on words there. But it's it's an interesting twist, but it's your 2D side-scrolling brawler, like a Double Dragon kind of a thing. But the main thing is like you're blocking enemies and like countering them and like basically nudging them out of the way instead of actually fighting and kicking and punching them. But again, this was something I read an article or two a while back, and that's another game that's getting praised for. I'm not entirely sure what the full range of accessibility features being included in that are, but that is supposed to have some interesting stuff, interesting settings for accessibility as well. So I want to have a separate playlist, separate from the low vision spotlight videos, because those are just games that I'll play, and I'll try to play as best I can with whatever, the general settings and the general gameplay that we're given. But I want to make another playlist that actually specifically calls out a mainstream game, not like my PC accessible game spotlights or my iOS accessible game spotlights. These are 9 times out of 10, they are games that are specifically designed for a blind or low vision user. Not always, a good example of that would be the Karateka game for PC or iOS. That is a mainstream game that was accidentally playable, not designed specifically to be playable by blind and visually impaired, but they can. And things, I'm trying to figure out for like fighting games. I know a lot of blind people play like Killer Instinct and Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Tekken, whatever. Those, I think it really depends. I think for the most part, those are still going to be low vision spotlight videos, unless, and here's the catch, unless they have specific things, specific like modes or specific settings that purposely address accessibility. The NetherRealms games would be a good example of that. Or was it the NetherRealms games, or was it Killer Instinct? I think it might have been Killer Instinct, actually, which I have to even cover on the channel yet. But they basically added additional sounds because somebody from a blind player had asked, like, hey, could there be, a couple of audio things, when I film my special meter or whatever, so you can hear that. So if there's things like that, I will try to maybe put them in that category. Another great example of a mainstream game that purposely made accessibility a part of it post-release was Skullgirls. That game is still amazing as far as the amount of, again, the gold standard for text-to-speech in a mainstream video game. I mean, it's awesome. That's what I want to see, especially on Xbox with narrator and Windows 10. But so I haven't thought of a name for the playlist yet, or the series, what I want to call them. If you have any ideas, drop them in the comments below, but I'm sure I'll try to think of a name, because I have not actually recorded any of those videos yet. It's kind of the point where, like, just between mainstream games, accessible games, and some of these other mainstream titles that have accessibility in them, I've actually started making a list of things I actually want to record for the channel. Like, oh, I want to play this game. I want to play that game. Oh, this one has accessibility in it. Oh, this is a screen reader friendly game. I can play that, which is a good thing, because that means there's plenty of stuff to cover. There's plenty of stuff to record. But like I said, I've been so busy at work that by the time I get home, half the nights during the week I don't even use my computer when I get home, because I don't want to look at a screen. Like this week, I don't think I turned my monitor on for like 2 nights, and I didn't even touch my computer 2 or 3 nights this week. So there's a lot of stuff that I want to cover in the area of accessibility and accessible games and accessible mainstream games. So there's some really interesting stuff happening right now. And I'm very interested, I'm very excited to look into some of this stuff. And like I said, I'm not reaching out to developers even sometimes. It's getting to the point where a few developers have contacted me and asked me for feedback, because maybe they've stumbled on the channel or followed something I said on Twitter. So, it's been great being able to help contribute to that, kind of building up a little bit of a reputation, which is awesome. So we have that. And then, of course, we have our regular games, our iOS games, our PC games, our low vision, our accessible games. I got so much VR content I got to get to, just to even play, or experiences to even look at, to know what I might want to record for you guys, to check out. So all your regular stuff. Probably got another hardware review or 2 coming. I just did that video for my Ducky mechanical keyboard, which I'm still liking quite a bit. Did that recently, and I've got another hardware review video to record fairly soon. Hopefully I'll be able to do, I'm hoping to record a bunch of content this weekend, just a variety of different stuff this weekend. Oops, there we go. But what I'm holding in my hand right now is, I've mentioned on the channel in the past that we've covered iOS. I'm continuing to cover iOS accessibility, iOS apps, iOS games. But I want to give Android some love, there are things I really like about Android, just like there are things I really like about iOS. I didn't really want to get a new phone because I didn't want to add another device to my plan, and I just really don't need another phone per se, although I really don't need a tablet either. But nevertheless, like I said, I've been contemplating getting another modern Android device for a while. Remember I did the reviews for the Nexus 7, I think first and or second gen versions, which both have gone basically obsolete a long time ago. They're not being supported. And even when they were, then, they were cheap. I mean, you get what you pay for, The Nexus tablets were like $230, depending on what storage size you got. And, visually the displays looked okay. But as far as like the touch sensitivity, the quality of the screen, it was really frustrating, because like the most basic of gestures, like a double tap or a swipe, it was just really inconsistent. And at the time, I don't know how much of it was. I know a good part of it was the screens itself. because I did poke around briefly with other people's, higher quality Android devices and found, the screen taps and the overall screen sensitivity gestures to be better. But how much of it was TalkBack itself, and then how much of it was just the crappy touch sensitivity for the Nexus screens. So I just never really covered them on the channel. I just never felt it was worth it, especially now that the Nexus, like I said, are essentially dead. I think maybe they have Android 4 or 5 on them. I haven't even played with mine in like a year. But I do have, I just recently got a Samsung Galaxy Tab S3, which is essentially Samsung's flagship 10-inch tablet. And it's a 32 gig tablet. It has an OLED screen on it, which is amazing. OLED is amazing, and that's why I really wanted the iPhone 10 to actually be better. But like I said, I'll talk more about this in the actual hardware review, but I've had it now for a week and a half or so, maybe 2 weeks. So I'm hoping to get maybe a hardware review of that going soon for you guys. And as far as covering Android, I've been using the Reflector app on my PC to try and, to cover iOS, which has worked great. However, I've been researching and trying with my Galaxy Tab S3 to get that to connect to my, basically what do they call it, a Mirrorcast or a Chromecast-esque server through Reflector 3. Haven't figured out how to get it to work yet. There doesn't even really seem to be an option in any of the settings on my tablet. I actually just emailed Squirrels, the developers on it, and just to see if it is actually supported or how to maybe make it work. Because if possible, I would like to give you guys a little bit of direct feed footage of using not just Android TalkBack, but Samsung's own voice assistant. So Samsung has its own kind of a thing, which has its advantages and disadvantages, and then TalkBack as well, which has advantages and disadvantages. And the nice thing about the Samsung one is I'm able to play with both. I can turn one off and turn the other one on, or vice versa. So I'm going to try and cover a little bit more Android, either off-screen or direct footage, if I can figure out how in the heck to mirror it to my computer so I can record it. So we have that going on. Of course, CSUN is coming up in March. I am not going to CSUN. I had the opportunity, but I decided to wait because I was kind of planning on trying to do something a little bit different for next year. Don't know how that's going to go, but we'll see. However, the same week of CSUN is also the second GA conference, or GA Conf, in California as well, which is the one-day game accessibility conference. And I did hear that, I don't know if the whole thing or some of it, but it's supposed to be streamed this year. So, if I don't already have it off, I'm taking that Monday off, and I will be at home streaming those sessions because I really want to. I'd really love to virtually attend that conference. I mean, even if there's a fee, hell, I'll do it. So we'll see what comes out of GA Conf and CSUN this year. See if there's anything interesting out of those. Console stuff, like I said, we'll try to get some more Xbox stuff going. Really curious to see how the Microsoft chat goes with the racing games next week. Again, if you guys have any feedback, get it to me, or feedback, questions, or suggestions I could kind of bring up during that chat. Let me know as soon as you can, because then I can try to get them in my little list of things to ask or to mention or to talk about for that. But yeah, we'll see what else happens. Maybe working with other developers or, who knows. But as far as game accessibility and gaming in general, the Switch is still really cool. Playing a little bit of that. Some pretty decent tablet games that I've been hooked on lately. Actually, a couple really addictive ones I've been hooked on lately. And just like I said, I have tons of videos already recorded. So we're going to get some new stuff, get some old stuff that I've already recorded a while ago, just mixing everything. So there's plenty of content to come. Accessible, mobile, hardware, VR, you name it, it's probably going to be coming. So a Let's Play or two I have coming, so that's also coming up. But yeah, that is kind of an update just on me and the channel. It's like I said, it's been super busy. I got a lot of stuff I want to do, a lot of stuff I want to record, and trying to get that playlist going. I really got to devote some more time to the Steam Curators group. I've been actually kind of bad at looking in to see if anyone else has joined or posted anything myself, so I do want to try to update and maybe, get going on that a little bit more. So like I said, you go to steampowered.com or go through Steam and just look up Illegally Cited. You should find it there. There's a couple people in the group. So far, there's been a couple of posts, a couple of announcements, a couple of discussion board posts so far. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but just know there's a lot of stuff coming to the channel yet. Really don't intend on slowing down. I'm actually having quite a bit of fun with this, with covering games and just playing them, covering them, giving feedback, working with developers. Like there's kind of some really neat stuff kind of happening for me right now. So thanks again for subscribing. Like the videos, subscribe. I try not to do that cliche too much, but if you like the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel. You can let other people know who might be interested in. And if you are a developer who has any questions on game accessibility, VR accessibility. Again, remember I did the hashtag ID24 conference last November, and I did a presentation on virtual reality accessibility. That presentation is on the ID24 channel as well as on my channel under the VR accessibility playlist. And I forgot to mention on my year-end wrap-up video, I also kind of guested on the Blind Bargains cast in, late August, early September. And I joined a couple of cool people on the Blind Bargains cast there. We talked about game accessibility. We talked about virtual reality a little bit. We talked about Steam and some other stuff and their accessibility or lack thereof. So if you missed that, definitely go back and check that out. But yeah, otherwise, keep the subscribes coming, and hope you guys enjoyed the videos. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you have, like I said, if you have any ideas or suggestions for as a blind or low vision racing game fan, let me know soon, and I will let you know how that goes. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks when I cover Forza Motorsport 7. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79. I've actually been pretty active there over the past month, and yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed it, and until next time, I will talk to you guys again later.